So, episode 9 of the Watch Desk podcast. We're here with Chief McGee, Chief Steen, and Chief Haley of the training division and the fire chief, talking about the recruit class. So, kind of want to sit down. We're going through the hiring process. We have applications open right now, and just want to sit down with you guys and kind of break up the next couple episodes for what the recruit class looks like, how it functions, what your guys' expectations are. And then we'll just kind of roll from there. We're going to bring in the cadres and kind of get their individual takes on things too. So we'll kick it out first with Chief McGee. Kind of what's your expectations if you were a new hire looking to apply to this department? You know, give us a sell. Why come work here?
Yeah, so, I think we've come a long way in our short time as a fire department. I mean, really in fire department years, we're fairly young as a fire department. 26, 27 years now that we've been a department. We're already up to 18 stations. 4 more on the way in the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is a big push. It's the biggest push we've had in this department ever as far as timeframes and stations coming online that quick, which obviously is going to increase the need for firefighters in the department. I think we're getting noticed around the state a lot more as, a top department in the state, from here all the way down to South Florida, which is exciting. So we have a lot of things going on now that are exciting, a lot of things coming in the future that are exciting. With this expansion, it roughly comes out to a little over 100 firefighters, in that time frame open in these stations. So there's been plenty of opportunity to come here, see what we're about, and be part of something big.
I think with the expansion, that's huge. We got one in the works right now. Obviously we're in summer 2025, so whenever you listen to this, we got one in the works now. It's being built, be done by the end of the year. Another one next year, and then following a couple years after that. So we're definitely
almost
looking
1 year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's good trucks, engines, rescues, all that kind of stuff. So
absolutely. And along with the new hires coming on, we're also, like Chief said, we're a young department, but we are hitting that time period where we're starting to have people retire.
Yeah.
We're hitting that 25, 27 year mark. So people are hitting that senior part of their career, getting ready to retire, enjoy the rest of their life. So, it's not just new positions being filled; it's attrition being filled and people that are moving on. So the opportunity for advancement, the opportunity for coming on with a department that's growing, both in size, but just also in our concepts, in our performance is amazing.
Yeah, you're gonna have the ability to control your own destiny, as far as what you want to do in your career here.
Yeah.
With the expansion, with the attrition, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for advancement. So it's really going to be up to you what you want to do in this place. If you want to be a backseat firefighter your whole career, that's what you want. Great. If you want to move all the way up through the ranks, you're going to have those opportunities.
We have room for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, though, like we're looking for leaders. We know that we're growing. We know that attrition's going to be on us. We know that we're expanding. So we are going to need leaders. So when we're looking through pools of applicants, we are looking at, who our leaders are. So
yeah,
I think
and
it's important to point out.
Do a lot of, leadership development. We bring a lot of people in. I could speak. We're probably one of the departments that brings in the most people, and then also sends us to the most stuff out of county. So you're getting chances to learn from the best of the best all over the nation.
That was one area that I really wanted to focus on when I got put in this position was, I think we lacked in the leadership training aspect of the department. And, with the training division here, we've done a lot in a short amount of time, again, to get a lot of our officers through officer development training. And that's just going to continue on through, pretty much forever, the way we have it set up now. So I think it's, a great opportunity. I would encourage anybody to take a shot. But you're going to have to work hard. You're not going to coast here.
The expectation is the expectation.
You're not going to come here and hide.
Lieutenant Daly says the standard's the standard, and this is what, kind of what we're going to talk about over the next 30 minutes or so is what our standards are and how they relate to the recruit class, and then that relates into your first year, which relates into the rest of your career. So that's kind of the stuff I kind of want to hit on too. Is like you said, there are expectations. We're not just flying in and flying out. Like we have a standard that you must uphold, I guess would be the correct word. So we'll kind of let's dive into that a little bit. So let's talk about the recruit class specifically. So if you're a recruit or somebody that's applied to the department, what are we looking at as far as a recruit class. I want some information. Give me information on what to expect during the next 8 weeks of my life.
Well, you care if I start?
Have at it.
I got an email, or actually a little text from Captain Robbie Harper a couple of weeks ago, and it was basically a reel from legendary Chief Rick Lasky, who's kind of the author of the Pride and Ownership program, and he's interviewing another chief that's doing some good things, and from a fire department that's doing good things. And so he says, what are you guys looking for in new firefighters? And so that chief says, we're looking for heart and attitude. And if you've got the right heart, you've got the right attitude, we can turn you into a good firefighter. We can teach you how to pull hose. We can teach you how to treat patients and stuff, but heart and attitude. And so as I thought about that, I kind of add a couple more in there myself. And when you're coming here, we need our recruits to be mentally locked in and physically in shape when you get here. So we throw a lot at you. I think we joke all the time. This is not the fire academy, right?
Right. Yeah.
This is not
I think I threw
academy.
F's the book out the window once.
Yeah.
So.
And so we know what the fire academies are missing, and so when you come here, every second is going to be accounted for. My man, Chief Haley over here, he's got this thing dialed in, and we are throwing something at you from the time that you come into the building and into the organization until day 40 on graduation, right? Like, we're throwing a lot at you, and so you have to come mentally, locked in, paying attention, and be ready to absorb the material, and physically in shape. You cannot come in here out of shape and expect to make it through the academy. So,
So I always say we put you through an 8-week fire conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
like the underlying thing is it's not fire school. We don't treat you like fire school. This is 8 weeks of Orlando Fire Conference, or 8 weeks of, Fort Lauderdale, or even FDIC. I mean, a lot of our guys that come teach in our cadres are teaching nationally around the country, and teaching, anywhere from can confidence to hose lines to throwing ladders to even medical. We have the top-notch medical training division that, are teaching and doing stuff all over the country. So you really are getting an 8-week fire conference / medical conference.
And getting paid for it.
And getting paid for
That's
it.
not bad.
And having fun. And while we do it is big too. Like, obviously we're serious, we're having a good time, but when it's time to get down to it, we get down to it. But, it's you're here to learn, you're here to have fun.
There's no guarantees with that either. I mean, I don't want this to be a power flex kind of thing, but if we don't think you're going to cut it and you're going to fail the citizens of this county or any member of this department, we'll wash you out.
Yeah.
It's happened in previous classes. Yeah. It's nothing personal, but there's a high expectation of when you come in here that you're going to perform at the level that we want in this county. And if you're just not there, then we'll wash you out. And I don't want it to be a threat, but it's just a reality of what you're coming into. I don't want you to have any misinterpretation that this is a give me by any means. It is going to be a hard 8 weeks. It's going to be hard on you. It's going to be hard on your family. Like, just be prepared. It's not a cakewalk.
Right. Yeah.
Well, if we look at the mission, right? I mean, our mission statement is what? To serve those in need. Mm-hmm. And how do we do that? And the main two things that we do to serve our community are save lives and save property. And we take it serious. And so we know that the day that you get on the back seat of your first day on the engine, and you've got to be prepared, because in years past, we might have rookies that show up and they didn't have some of the skills together. And so this program, I think you guys have really, especially Chris and Chief Haley, you guys have really taken this thing and driven it to where it is today. And so I think when you come off out of the academy into your first day on the street, you're way more prepared than you were coming out of the fire academy. And so we take a lot of pride in that, because again, the mission is what we're here for, and it's a big deal. And you've got to be mentally and physically prepared to do this job. It's a physically rigorous job, right? It's demanding. It takes a lot out of you, and so we want you to be ready when you hit the street.
Absolutely. Like, I think one thing we'd be amiss at is if we don't recognize that our predecessors that laid the great foundation. We came in and we're a new department, and we had from Chief Johnny Colson Chief Sherman Missick. They're all retired now, enjoying their lives. But
I've heard that's nice.
yeah, one day, and a whole host of others that built a training program for this department. And then, Chris and I and a few others, we came in, Captain Brazel, Captain Jeff Whitmer, a bunch of people like about 5-6 years ago. We kind of had that aha moment that this isn't Standards 2.0, that we need to step it up to the next level as a professional fire department, and really focus in the training of the recruit program to mold these new firefighters, whether they have 5 years on at another department or they're right out of Standards, and mold them into what we as St. Johns County expect of them, and then have them ready to go. We don't have a year after they hit the street. The citizens of St. Johns County don't have a year after they hit the street to have a good firefighter. So they're running backseat, and if the officer goes down, guess who's that heel on the nozzle, or the heel on the hose line? It's that backseat firefighter. They need to be proficient at calling a mayday, at getting that person out, at performing and functioning their job. So we don't have a long time. The rest of the time of their career is honing the skills. But what we kind of looked at was, let's take this 6-week program that we kind of came into, and then we built it into 8 weeks. Thank you, Chief, for giving us some more time.
Wasn't it 4 before?
Well,
we did it in 4, and we don't know how we did that.
Yeah.
And now we need 6, and realistically, we need 10.
And it's changed over. It's changed over time because either the economy, the need for people, or the program, facilities, logistics,
COVID.
all sorts of stuff. COVID, that was a fun one.
Can't mention that word anymore.
But the program's always evolving too. It's never fixed. We're always asking the recruits. They're our customers. The new recruits, when they come in from the training division, that's my customer. Mm-hmm. So we're always asking customer surveys, right? We're asking, how did that last week go? Did we miss the mark on something? Are we fulfilling your expectations? Were there any safety issues? We get that feedback from them, and then we act on it. It doesn't just go into a vacuum.
We've done a lot of change based on feedback from the people going through. Mid-class, yeah.
We're last class was a great example. We're all fallible, and we actually started on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. And after that first week, some of the recruits said, it'd be nice to actually know about the organization of this department, the organizational chart. That's typically something we do on a Monday, but because we started a day
just
off,
habit, right? Creatures of habit just kind of
fell off our radar. So we captured that on that following week. But if we didn't do those surveys, that would have just gone on. Someone could have gone on an entire career of 33 years and never actually got the initial organizational chart of this department.
I think one of the things that I love about the program too is the Recruit Academy is the attention that we place on the basics. We focus on the basics. Jim McCormack from FDTN, right? He said there's no advanced level training. There's just an advanced level performance, and it's mastering the basics. And so it's funny to we'll ask kids coming out or folks coming out of the fire academy.
We're all getting older.
We're all getting older.
We'll ask folks coming out of the fire academy, how much time were you taught how to flow water, when to flow water, where to flow water? How much time did you spend actually flowing water in the fire academy? And it's a few minutes when it's all said and done, right? So the thing that I love about this program is it starts with the basics. It's a crawl, walk, run approach. Mm-hmm. We talk about it being a hard-hitting program, and it is. But there's not a lot of yelling.
No,
it's not. You are being
We're there to teach you and instruct you and mentor you.
Yeah,
on how
we
to do
have
this
expectations and standards, but it's not a lot of hoorah, pounding our chest, yelling at people for no good reason, right? There is some at times. Sometimes people need to be motivated, but really we start with the basics. On the medical side, it's how to properly assess a patient, how to do perfect CPR, right? We have, like we said earlier, one of the most aggressive, progressive medical directors on the planet, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he could have us
stuff I don't even know about
surgeons in the field, he would probably take us there, right? And so we're doing things. We're giving plasma and blood in the field. We're doing finger thoracostomies, ultrasounds. I mean, we are pushing the envelope in terms of the way that we're approaching medicine. So you're gonna get some of the best instruction with the medical side of things. With that being said, the the program is fire intensive. And so, because, we know that those skills aren't going to be as easily replicated, based on call volume, right? So, the program is fire intensive, and so you're going to be stretching lines our way. You're going to be flowing water. You're going to be making push, flowing and moves, forcing doors, cutting roofs. Fast and aggressive searches, VES, all of these, basic principles that we're teaching, and the basics are showing up. Like, we see it on our fires now. Like, we're seeing the wins, fire after fire, with our guys, getting through and searching these places fast, because again, like, what does the public expect of us, right? Like, they expect, like, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
Like, when a fire comes out or any call comes out, like, we're coming for you. Mm-hmm. And so we have that sense of urgency throughout the program. It's like, when you're stretching a line, why are you stretching a line? Not to put the fire out. I mean, you are, but you're stretching a line for the victim, right? Mm-hmm. You're stretching a line for the unprotected human airway.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what this
that's
whole
how
thing
we
is about.
and that's how we run the whole program, kind of. And I think that segues good into how we actually run the program, right? So, Chief, you bring up good points. All of you guys have is it's a crawl, walk, run. So, and by kind of how we do that is, you start off the week going slow, moving, and then at the end of the week, we're putting you in a live fire condition with fire blowing over your head and heat.
Yeah.
And we're moving. Yeah.
I think that's,
like,
one of the opportunities you get here, is we have that ability to put them in those situations with our current, setup, and our fire training ability. We have.
Should we talk about it?
we have the, we have the ability now with the flashover simulator, to put them in those conditions. That's a really cool simulator. Being able to go through that thing. We do have the Connex box setups to do the searches, to do the fire attack. So we do have the ability to do this on our own with our own stuff, and that segues into, the future as we continue, we're getting closer and closer to developing our training facility for this department. And then when that happens, then it's going to be epic. Like,
I think like the biggest piece that we like the building blocks. I know we kind of build it, like Chief mentioned, the fire behavior simulator and the flashover simulator. Like, we take you guys in there and we show you what not to see and how ventilation controls it. And then we add the building block of, okay, now you have a nozzle in your hand, and why is it important to control the door before you go in? And searching, why is it important to shut that? But we're doing it first without anything, and then we add fire blowing over your head.
That's
when I mean fire,
right?
Yeah.
And this is my quote of everything, right? So this is my spiel is, you go through fire school, and this is not knocking any fire school anywhere, but it's the same thing. It's a gas-fed fire that you push a button and it goes out. Or you're spraying a nozzle off into the corner because they don't want to reset the fire. That's not what we do at all. We reset the fire completely. Every single time you put it out, it goes fully out. You guys put it out, you overhaul it, you move it out, and we build another one. We did
16 in a day.
16 live fires in a day, full evolution. I think the quickest, or not the quickest, the most we did in a recruit class.
22, I think.
22. I think the most we ever did in a recruit class was like 90-something fires throughout the whole recruit class.
Yeah.
And, that's the kind of the expectation we had, because that's where you're going to learn. And that's where you're going to get your standards are going to be set by that. And we make it as real as we can. Obviously, we're still falling under, the standards and the guides that we have to, but, that's what we want. We want you to succeed on burn day. Burn day for us is like the win day. You already got the skills. You already got what you have to do. We're just adding a little stress on you, and we're having a good time. And you're going to notice that everybody that's out there is having a great time. All the instructors love that day. Minus when you get hit in the head with the smoothbore. But we still laughed.
I can't hear you.
But I think that's what makes this unique, having the ability to do what we're talking about. I mean, we've had surrounding departments come around from around here and participate in our burns, with our setups. Yeah. So, it's not just us and our recruits. I mean, there's surrounding departments and officers and firefighters from those departments that are coming through our facilities.
And learning the way we did it and taking advantage of how we have things set up here. And that's only going to get better once we get through this training.
Maybe soon.
Yeah, hopefully soon. We'll get,
we're just going to break that can open on this one.
We're all in on this training center. Yeah. I mean, a training center is coming for St. Johns County Fire Rescue. We're working through, just some of the steps of that right now, but it's sooner than later, I think, in that realm where we'll have a full-fledged, dedicated, standalone training facility for St. Johns County Fire Rescue. So that's only going to, sweeten the pot a little bit.
And just to clear up, so if you have any questions, we have a small training facility that we use currently. We're looking at upgrading that facility. So if you're kind of seeing like the little jibber jabber back and forth, we're kind of, we have about 3 acres at Sims, 3 acres at what we call Sims Pit.
About 3 acres.
It's kind of Xboxes, that kind of stuff is where we do our stuff. But we're looking at a massive training facility. Burn buildings, towers,
drill fields,
drill
pads,
field, maybe maybe a
outside
pool.
classrooms.
I don't know.
So
Saunas, ice.
Yeah, we're an all hazards department, so we do. It's not just fire and EMS.
Right.
It's
Marine
USAR,
rescue.
hazmat,
Yep.
marine rescue, and so we're looking at a place that we're going to cover initially the basics first with fire and EMS, but as we expand, it's going to be the USAR elements and the hazmat elements and marine rescue. Like we need to be able to do it all in one place.
Yeah. So let's break down kind of the 8 weeks, right? Well, actually, hold on. I want to segue somewhere else.
Can we?
Oh, we got to go somewhere else
pivot
first.
back first?
Yeah, let's pivot. Go wherever you want.
I think a question that would be good to ask ourselves among each other could be, what do we think our applicants need to do to prepare, for this class?
That's funny because that was my pivot
that a
right
later
there.
question?
No, that was my pivot. So that works.
Okay.
We'll just go with that. So does anybody want to start? Because I'll start.
Go.
I think the first things first is physical. Like, you have to be physically fit. We have our physical agility test that when you come for your interview, you're going to have, you're going to do your interview or on a separate day come in. I can't remember how we're working it this go round, but.
we're going to be doing the PAT, first, and then on a separate day, those applicants would then, that get extended an offer for an interview, would then come in so that they're not sweaty and dirty on the same day.
So my big thing is physical, right? We want to see this recruit class takes a lot. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's still in, whenever time of the year it is, but you can't come in unprepared physically day one and make it up at the end of the 8 weeks. It doesn't happen it happens in other people's recruit classes. It doesn't happen here. So if you're not physically preparing yourself prior, and I'm not saying you have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger out there throwing buses around, but you have to have some kind of physical stamina. You can't be left behind. If you start getting left behind physically, it's hard to make that up, and you just can't.
In the last couple of rounds, we've been handing a physical agility sheet, a workout,
like
a
a
suggested
workout,
workout sheet after your interview to say, hey, if you are extending the opportunity to work here, this is what you should do to get ready for it. And I think I don't know if that's helped out. I'm guessing it's helped out in the last couple of classes because we recently just implemented that. Yeah. So, they'll know what to expect.
But the time is
coming
to
in.
Start doing, like, if you're not there, the time to start prepping now. Don't wait till your interview. Don't wait till the PAT day.
Don't go a week out and go, I'm going to start running.
Like this PAT, guess what? It's an interview.
Yeah.
We're looking at your times. It's a competition. Everything is a competition. Everything's a competition. So we are looking at your times because, when you get to the recruit class, we're going to run. We're going to climb
work
towers. We're going to be in our gear, on air.
All day.
A lot. Right? Not for everything.
Yeah.
But, you're going to tear up some gear in this program. Yeah, and then we'll put you in some new gear. We'll get it patched up and we'll get you moving on thanks to our logistics division. Yeah. They keep us going. We tear stuff up. They, keep us moving. But, you're going to be in gear. And so don't show up and be the person that's 50 pounds overweight on day one. It's not going to work. Yeah, you need to be in shape and ready to go.
Our program is to get you ready to be a St. Johns County firefighter. It's not a workout program to
get you in shape.
Take you from soft to hard. So you need to be already there. Okay. And then when you come in, and it's not just how much weight can you throw up, how long can you run or anything like that. It's so if you are trying to build out a program, or if you're talking to a personal trainer or something like that, try to get a holistic approach. So incorporate stretching, incorporate maybe some yoga. Your mental health is as important as physical health, and we're going to stress you mentally through this process also, because when the chips fall down, and you're going to probably in week 2 you're going to go through a program that's going to stress you for 3 days and take you to the limit. You know,
and you kind of
but
brought
guess
something.
what?
it's amazing.
Guess what? Like, they're not alone, are they?
I was literally just getting ready to say that.
Yeah,
Like,
we're doing it with you.
we're doing it with you. Yeah, our cadres are out there every day working out with you, and like it's something for us too. Like we enjoy it. We want to be physically fit. We want to get to know you. I want to know that you have 2 kids. I want to know that you came from wherever county, or you know your dad's in the military, or you're a former military. Like I want to know that stuff, and that's how I get to know you over those 8 weeks. Because after 8 weeks, you know, being in my position, I'll see you in the field, but you know, you are our firehouse for 8 weeks, and I want to know you, and I got to get to know upwards of 40 people. If I don't know those 40 people, I failed at my job.
Yeah, it's hard
And-
with that many faces, but like, there's something about shared suffering and mutual trust.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand, right? And so we're believers in it. We're tenants. Like, we're not sitting on, you know, golf cart eating bonbons and stuff. You're gonna see
we're
white
not
hats,
running behind you.
red hats in the help, and you know, in the burn rooms with you at times, right? Like, not every chief's going to be out there with you every day, but you're going to see some chiefs and some officers in this department doing things alongside you because we believe in it.
We're
Like,
doing the PAT with you, doing
Yeah.
running
And
towers with you. All of
It
that.
is a race. We will race you,
we smoke us.
but you'll probably win.
Most of you are half our age.
All right, so that's like if you had one thing to like for your question, one thing was for me was physical. I mean, obviously I could talk for another 2 hours about stuff, but like I'm throwing out physical.
I think another thing too is get your diet in line too. We've had people fall out in like week 1, week 2 because they're doing low carb, you know, high caffeine diet or whatever it is. That's not the time. We're gonna be burning the calories throughout this entire 8 weeks. So like, feel free to eat pasta and carb up.
Yeah,
you know,
eat
it's almost like
eat healthy,
Eat
but
healthy.
don't like
Yeah.
you don't go to McDonald's and get a.
But you know,
Double
like
cheese. Or-
you need to kind of anticipate some of that stuff. The another thing in preparation is, like Chief alluded to earlier, that it's also a stressor on your family and in your home life. So, kind of anticipate over the next weeks prior to a recruit class starting, getting your house in order too. You know, kind of trying
that's a
to
big one.
establish some type of pattern or organization, or try to get help from other family members. Like, who's going to cut your lawn when you're knocking out 56 hours in a week, and when you do get home, you're tired, you know? So little things like that, then the next thing you know, your spouse is upset, or the homeowners association is upset because the lawn's not cut, you know? So think about things like that. Sometimes that falls through the cracks, and then you have a bad day at home that then translates to bad performance inside here. You fall on someone's radar, and then it's hard to get off that.
I think that's a big thing to bring up is the family at home is really your support system through this 8 weeks. And it's not we're specifically talking about our recruit, any recruit class really. This isn't just us, but like, and for the rest of your fire service, that's your support, right? That's your support system. They're going to be there when times are rough. They're going to be there when times are great. They're going to be times when, but
They're
like
always
this,
there.
they're always there. And, that's a whole separate podcast. We can talk about that stuff. But like they really, Chief brings up a good point is kind of prep them because, we get to graduation day and everybody's happy and they get to pin you. It's a great celebration, but, you're celebrating yourself, but you're also celebrating the people that supported you. And that's why we allow you guys to go up there, have your family pin you, because it does mean stuff to them. There's other departments that don't do that. You just walk up on stage, Chief throws a badge at you, and you walk off. To me, that's not building a firehouse. That's a fire station culture to me, and that just it's not it's personal that we get to share that moment. And Chief loves it. He's up there all the time, and 42 people later, his hands are shaking, and but
It's an awesome time,
it's what it
man.
means.
It really is.
It's a celebration for you guys, and then that night you get to go out and have times with your family and celebrate the time, and we're all about the family here. So,
Man, this I know that we've been talking a lot about expectations. Like, if you come physically and mentally locked in, like, this thing is a blast. It's going back what you said. It's an 8-week fire and EMS conference. Like, you're getting like so much quality instruction. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about who our instructors are.
Yeah.
Like, we do have a training staff, and our training staff, I think Dan and I, we talk about this a lot. We're just really fortunate to work along such high quality individuals that are passionate about what they're doing. But also, it's not just our training staff. Like, a lot of our instructors are fed from the field, and these guys are running, running calls on trucks, and then they're tagging in on their off days and teaching. So that I think that the combination of the training staff and the field cadre of instructors, like that's what really gives this program credibility. Like they're out doing the things that they're teaching.
And if you go to their station on ride times, they're out there doing it.
Still
they're out
doing
there
it. Getting
they're out
another
there
rep
getting
in.
it. And you could talk about that, right? Cadres, we have, breaking down the 8-week program. We have engine week, we have a squad week, we have a truck week, we have a medical week. Of course, there's some admin weeks in there. Those are no fun, but you'll enjoy the rest while we're doing it. Sorry, Chief.
Sorry.
If you want a paycheck, we got to bring.
Yeah, but we got you got to sign some paperwork here and there. But you got guys in here that are so passionate about what they do. It's inspiring. It's inspiring from our side, recruit side, even guys in the field. Like everybody wants to be a part of this, and they're selective on who they bring in too. They're not just bringing in, hey, I want to come in and help you. No, they're handpicked. Every cadre member is handpicked by their lead cadre, and we do development too. That's something to talk about real quick. Is we have 1-year people that come in and are part of the cadre.
Yeah, we do.
And people have questioned us about that, and like, well, they got 1 year on the job. Yeah, but you know what? They got the spark in their eyes. They got that flame in their eyes that says they want to be passionate, they want to learn. And they're not out there instructing the module and walk. They're there to learn how to teach and develop themselves. And that's something that I think we do. Yeah, they're a journeyman. Mm-hmm. Like that's something that we do because we're all realists. We're not going to be here. I'm going to be retiring in a few years.
Succession planning, man.
Like
so, and if
somebody needs to take over
that passion in these young folks, and we get them out there. I mean, a lot of them, like you said, they're not your instructors telling people what to do. That wouldn't go over well in the field, so we recognize that. But what they're doing is they're getting a rep. They're seeing what quality instruction looks like, and we're kind of like stoking that fire and then for down the road. So
absolutely. The well, do you want to get into run down a kind of a
I think
standardized list?
Does anybody got anything to add about Chief Steen's kind of talking about some prepping for this? Anybody? Or we kind of hit.
I think we kind of hit.
I think we kind of ran down a couple rabbit holes, but that's all right.
So the one thing I would add is learn how to cook at least one meal for probably more than 5 people. For about $5 a person.
Hey Siri.
Hey Siri.
Learn a
But don't worry, crawl, walk, run. If you don't know how to cook, by the end of it, you will.
Yeah.
So.
Do you want to? I think where you're going with this was you wanted to break down the 8 weeks and kind of talk about what they are and what to expect.
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Is that kind of like high level? Because we're gonna for everybody that's listening, we're gonna break down all the cadres and they're gonna come in and talk about their weeks and kind of I'll say sell their weeks, but it's always engine versus truck versus squad versus EMS, and Marine Rescue gets in there and starts throwing sand at people. So. Like this kind of high level stuff, what to expect. So if you're kind of on the edge or you want to learn about it, like here's what we're going to kind of give you some high level stuff. Talk about what the weeks kind of look like, what to expect a little bit. Like I'm going to get into all the other cadres and bring them in. So let's kind of talk about that. Give us an overview of what that 8-week program, if somebody's looking for some details on it.
You want to start us out?
I will. Thanks.
Yeah.
So our 8-week program, so basically 40 days if we're lucky with no holidays in there. So we try to jam the same amount of information. If we have a holiday like Memorial Day or something like that, then that carves out a day. So now I have to jam 40 days of instruction into 39.
Right.
But basically it's a 56-hour work week. So you'll do Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You'll get a little bit of a lunch break, but just like in the fire service, make sure you eat, but you're not going to get a designated 1 hour lunch break. All right.
And sometimes it's on the fly. Like
sometimes it's on the fly. Sometimes it's at 10:30 in the morning, or because we got a lot of stuff in the afternoon, or thunderstorms are coming in, and we roll through and eat a late lunch while it's raining. So. In addition to that, we have to build in another 16 hours. And the way we do that is typically one day during that week, each recruit is going to be going to a station for an overnight ride. So you'll do 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock doing training with us, either at HQ or on the drill grounds. And then after that, you'll report to one of the stations and finish out the shift there. And then the next morning, wake up and come right back and jump the next 8 hours. So it's kind of easy transition into like if you had to pick up an overtime shift or if you got carried over or something like that. So during that 8-week program, the first week is, hang on, let me step back for a second. So the 8-week program, sometimes it's a dual path and sometimes it's a single path. So
Yeah.
if we have a smaller class and say we only bring on 10 people, then we can kind of condense everything. Everyone's getting reps, and there's not a lot of standing around time. So we can just do a single path. So I'll kind of clarify that a little bit more. So all 10 people would basically be throughout the entire process together. We've had other classes that have had upwards of 38, 30 is typically a number somewhere in there. It's hard to get reps, like if you have 30 people standing around waiting for a hose line.
Yeah, and it's not about like we don't want to put that many people. It's about the reps for you guys. It's not or for the recruits because you don't. We just talked about it. We don't want to just do it once.
Yeah,
I want to give you multiple reps, and I can't do that 30. We'll be there till midnight, which we do, but
I mean, at some point, I think we'll have the logistics and the space to do that and be able to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's just with the logistics, the number of apparatus and all that kind of stuff that we have. You're going to get more reps, and that's what we want. We want your hands on the tools, doing the thing.
And you're not getting, what we mean by dual path is, you're going to be simultaneously going through, so half the class could be in truck week and half the class could be in engine week. So that's kind of like you're not, and then they're going to flop. So you're not going to miss out on anything. You're going to be like, well, I got the EMS course and I've been in EMS for 8 weeks, or I've been in engine for 8 weeks. They run together and then they switch. Mm-hmm. Throughout
Correct.
the weeks. So
there are some things that we can put everybody together. So typically that
like the
first
engine and
week,
truck week,
say all 30 people are together. You're doing your HR and your administrative couple days, getting your logistics stuff. That's typically the first 2 days. Then we roll right into it. Typically like day 3, we're going crawl, walk, run. So like everyone's gone through fire school, but have they actually gone over your PPE and your SCBA? So we actually spend some time going over quite a bit of time tearing your gear apart, showing you how to inspect it, showing you how to put it back together, showing you what to look for, showing you sets of gear from our own personnel from years past that have taken a hit in the fire, and we bring them in sometimes if they're available to talk about their experiences, it's amazing. But so you get to see some of that stuff, and then deeply going over the SCBA, because that's like one of your biggest pieces of PPE and your lifeline. To me, I almost feel like your SCBA and your radio are your two biggest pieces of PPE. And sometimes I get a laugh when I say a radio is a PPE item. But if I didn't have my SCBA, I could smelt my lungs basically, whether it's on a high heat fire or a hazardous material call, a chemical, something like that. So I need to protect my respiratory tract. So that's the biggest one. But also if something goes bad, I need to be able to call for help. And that's where the radio comes in. So later in that week, we go into a whole, how to use a radio.
And we've set this up too, just talking high level stuff is we've set it up to tell you the why, which then translates. So like what Chief's getting ready to say is, PPE, like, oh yeah, we know how to take apart a bunker gear, but why has bunker gear changed? Why has stuff developed the way it has? And it's an open conversation. It's not we're telling you. This is if you've ever had a class with me, we're talking like just like we are here. Like we have to have a conversation. That's pretty much how we've set up the whole program. Is we are having a conversation and we are going to show you why we do this. Yes. Because it's not this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Because
that's a great point.
I think that sets the tone all the way to okay. We've shown you bunker gear. We've showed you how to use an SCBA. When we take you to the flashover simulator, and we talked about it earlier, was here's what not to see. If you're seeing this stuff, something's gone wrong. We're not supposed to be in a hallway and it flashes over and us not have a hose line. Like there's something going on there. Feel that heat, feel what not to feel. And then we put you behind a hose line and you're like, yep, I'm a fire slayer. I'm a smoke slayer. Like however you want to look at it, like it really kind of puts the learning pieces together. And we've kind of developed this as we've learned, we've learned ourselves. And, by the end of it, you're like, holy crap, I know exactly why we went with this gear, how we went with this gear, why we went with this nozzle package, why we went with this hose package, why we bought this tool, why we're setting our fire engines up this way.
Why we're using heads up CPR with the guard.
Yeah. All the way down. You're going to know the details of it, and if you want even more details, guess what? We'll give it to you. And, so, but anyway, let's get back into
oftentimes the why, like almost all the time, is the why is ultimately going to bring itself back to the unprotected human airway, right?
Yeah.
The civilian.
Yep.
And if it's good for them, it's going to be inherently good for us, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
anyways.
No, that's a great point. You're going to probably flow ungodly amounts of gallons of water throughout this program. And we do that on purpose. And we explain the why. And we bring in the UL studies to back up that information. We're not just making this stuff up in a vacuum. Yeah. And if science and studies and everything else and practices change in the future, then we're going to pivot with that. We're still a young department, so we're able to turn a ship a lot easier than departments that have been around for 150 years. And that nozzle was the nozzle that your great grandfather purchased.
Yeah.
So there's no way that they're going to change it, right?
Yeah.
Chief Steen and years ago, but 6 years ago now, 7?
7, 8.
Yeah. We as a department did an entire overhaul of our hose and nozzle package, and you'll learn more about why we call it a package. It's not just slap a different nozzle on the end and think you're good. But there's a lot of science and study on that. And we were able to, as a department, full change out all of that, which then made it easier to maneuver and flow and all of, it's it's good. And then Chris Snaff was nice enough to pretty much get rid of all of that hose to other departments.
We don't talk about that. We're
for
not
years.
discussing that.
It was like Christmas every day.
Yeah. But yeah, let's kind of, I know we kind of segued a little bit, but
sorry, I do that.
That's all right. Squirrel.
Yep. So right after like week 1, another thing that we've identified over the last few years and in partnership with our EOC and our emergency management is some people have never experienced staying over the night at a fire station or cooking for a large group of people or waking up in the middle of the night. So in those first 2 weeks, instead of going to a station where you've never been around the fire service a day in your life, we actually crawl, walk, run again. We actually go over to the EM and we do the overnight the first 2 weeks with your cadre, with the training section where you stay over there, and we kind of prep you for what you're going to experience in week 3 and beyond, so that when you do go to a fire station for the first time, you're not, in shell shock. You should be shocked.
Yeah, you guys cook. We cook breakfast. We cook dinner.
Yeah,
we hang out. We get a lot of the logistical stuff done. It's a little boring sometimes, but there's a why behind it.
Some of the folks who come in with some experience are saying, "Hey, I didn't necessarily need that," but again, like it's not. We don't get to judge.
Yeah.
Or get the inside scoop of what your experience is coming in, right? And so everyone's, going to be, on the same level when you come in. So, it's just part of the onboarding process is going through some of these things that you might not need to know, but we're not here for me. We're here for we.
Yeah.
Right? And
exactly.
So, you're here for them.
Yeah. So it's like, that's a super positive experience for our folks who don't have much or any experience. So.
And it's an opportunity. You're going to learn throughout the process that we care about our people from day one. And going back, like I joined a fraternity back in the 90s. I'm dating myself, but I was basically
the 1900s.
1900s, 1865. But for an entire semester, you're demoralized, beat down, abused mentally and physically. And then after Hell Week, they're like, "Oh, you're my brother," and I never quite understood that, and I never wanted to bring that into our training division. So basically, you're day one, you're one of us. You're our brother. You're our sister. I have to rely on you in that fire. Like I said earlier in the episode, that if it's me and a brand new rookie on week 3 of his rookie program, and I go down, I need to rely on that person. So if I'm beating them up and abusing them throughout the 8-week process, what is that going to do? And it's also going to build this snowball effect that they feel like it's okay to do it to the next person. So changing a culture, and it's not soft and touchy-feely culture. We
it's
expect a lot
culture.
of you.
It's accountability.
But I'm going to respect you as a person, and as my brother, as my sister, I expect the same. So when you are at the EOC or you're throughout this process, it's a conversation, and we'll take information in, but at the end of the day, someone has to make a decision and give direction. But those surveys are a great point. We take your information in, and if it's something we need to course correct, we're all fallible. We're always trying to make this program better. So we take great pride in that. So your feedback is important.
Yeah. So kind of moving on, and I'll kind of
Jump in.
How do we end the first week, Chief?
Well, the first week we end with a PAT, right? So you've already done a PAT, a physical ability test, in shorts and t-shirts, helmet and gloves,
to get hired.
just to get hired. And if that was hard then, it's definitely going to be harder that first week when you're doing it basically with 50 additional pounds on you, full gear, just like you're going into a structure fire on air. The expectation is that you're going to pass that, you know, 3 full rounds of that in with 1 bottle, you know, full SCBA.
Yeah.
Typically there's going to be we'll have 4 sets going at a time.
Yeah.
3 of you and usually 1 of us.
Yep.
And you know, like Chief said earlier, you may have a chief next to you. You may have an engineer, lieutenant, captain.
Yeah, somebody's going to be out there.
But we all like to get our reps in too.
Sometimes twice.
Sometimes
Never know.
twice.
It's I would say like that's the line of demarcation from like transitioning from kind of like the onboarding, the HR stuff, and like from the PAT. Sorry to hit the table. From the PAT, from there it's like Katie bar the doors. Like it's wide open from there.
Yeah, absolutely wide open. And then jumping right into that next week, typically we jump right into SCBAs, and that is almost the litmus test, I would say.
For sure.
Yeah, it's probably the hardest few days. Squad week's pretty hard, but
Those 3 days.
Lieutenant Daly's SCBA emergencies class, we brought in confidence. Sorry, SCBA confidence. Sorry, Lieutenant Daly, don't. But we brought that in a few years ago, and he really ramped up that program. And it's
Sets
physical,
the tone.
and we're all doing it with you. We're all, he's out there doing everything. And if you don't know who he is, you should probably look him up by now. But he's here, and he is, inspirational, to say the least.
Absolutely. And basically it's going to take you from knowing how to click in your regulator to your mask that you got taught in fire school. But did you ever get taught what to do when your pack fails? Like when your regulator fails, when your hose gets cut, when your mask delaminates? And we're going to basically, not to go too deep down in there, but it's going to stress you for 3 days on that, both mentally and physically. And we've seen some really good positive rewards from it.
Yeah, because it just sets the standard for the rest of the week, right? You're going to be so confident. Like we had one class that we kind of did the separation, and they went into an EMS week, and they came back and they were like, "Oh, what's an SCBA?" So like, you don't forget what an SCBA is with Lieutenant Daly's class. So, but yeah,
typically that end of that first week, we go into some fire behavior and we go right into the flashover simulator. And that's like the Draeger's technical term for it, but we like to think of it as a fire behavior simulator.
Yeah, it's not a human behavior simulator, is what we like to say.
And it's definitely not
dynamics.
Definitely not teaching you tactics.
Yeah,
it's teaching you, kind of like Chris said, not what not to see. But it's the easiest live fire training you're ever going to do, because you're going to sit on your backside and watch fire roll over top of your head numerous times over. But it's going to show you how ventilation works. Pros and cons to it, and I think total out of all the times we've had it, I think if you put all the water into a barrel, we're probably maybe at like 30 gallons total.
I don't even think that, like a half a gallon maybe.
we control that thing solely by opening and closing the doors. It's amazing. But that's on week 2, and then typically after that, then we jump in and into the different modules. So going into a fire or a engine company module. So from pulling a line to the front door, and then from the front door to the seat of the fire, and then back out.
All
again.
Engine stuff. Like you're touching hose, you're learning the Ys, you're learning flowing and moving.
Learning that dance of deploying a hose line properly.
And that's all you do all week, constantly, all week. Which then translates to the next week, which is typically
EMS somewhere falls in there.
EMS.
And this isn't set in stone, right? So I want to make that very clear. So if you're listening to this a year from now and you're like, well, they did EMS first and then we went to engine. we have to tweak it occasionally because of holidays, facility usage, and our cadres. So if our main cadre or the majority of our cadre are out on a vacation, it's kind of hard to put on that high quality program. So, but typically we step back to EMS and we do a full week of that, and it's intensive also. crawl, walk, run, go back through ACLS, BLS, all of that stuff, just so we know everyone's on the same page. And then whether you're an EMT or a paramedic, you're getting the same training. And the reason for that is, a paramedic can do additional skills and additional responsibilities, but a good or great EMT backing that person up is amazing, right? And it may spark that flame that EMT wants to now become a medic.
Yeah.
So we're going to basically teach you the same stuff because it's the same patient at that house at 2 a.m. that you go to. They're not going to be like, oh, well, we're only going to send the EMT guys over to this house, right? So no, it's your medics, your EMTs, you're showing up, and you got to work as a team. So, we're going to go through that same training. Obviously the medics are going to have to be responsible for drug calculations and dosages and stuff like that. But the EMTs can recognize what that particular drug is, what it looks like, and the device for delivering it, and have it prepped and ready to hand over to the medic to then continue on the process. But it's a full week on that. And then there is EMS throughout the rest of the program, but it's spattered about. So there's a whole day on ASHER, so active shooter hazardous environment or hazardous event training.
That's what that means?
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry, Chief.
It's like a tongue twister.
Sorry, Chief Epperson.
Yeah, acronyms. So there's
it is a good course, though.
It is. It's amazing.
It's a
Taught
really
by
good
some
course.
amazing people that are both are SWAT medics for the sheriff's department. Hands-on. Chief Epperson actually goes out and gets a ham hock and shoots it at the range and hits it with a chainsaw and all sorts of stuff. But it's high intensity on that one also. There's hands-on training days, and then as we go through the rest of the process, whether it's fire or search truck, any of those days, we try to incorporate an EMS component at that final day too. So
because if you're doing a search, right?
Right. I think we're getting ready to say the same thing, right?
Like what ultimately has to happen. Like we've looking at the data from Firefighter Rescue Survey coming out, and we've got to get victims out within that 6 to 8 minute threshold to kind of have that favorable outcome. But
if we just throw them in the front yard and just walk back in the fire, that doesn't work.
So we know that we need to take care of their airway. We know that they're going to need cyano kits. So all that kind of stuff.
Get them out of the hot zone.
Exactly.
Don't just chuck them out the window.
15 feet away from there.
And start that whole process. So we're trying to.
It's muscle memory too.
Create the environment where it's like you're treating in some capacity. The victim that you find they're a patient.
Yeah.
Sorry to take that over.
No, that's a great segue to like I think the majority of our time that we spend in 8 weeks is removing training scars or unscrewing a screw of disinformation that's been put into you over the course of either your standards class or through past experiences. So we're gonna data driven and data backed up. So we're gonna basically try to back that screw out a little bit. And remove some of those.
Are we in the
scars.
habit of triaging patients on the inside of a house fire?
No.
Is this person a viable patient? Are they red, yellow, green, or black? No. Get them out, and then we'll figure it out from there. So we want the automatic response. If you find a human body inside of a structure fire, is victim, 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 and how do we get them out? Not the automatic response to be delay, see if they're alive. We can do that later. We need to get them out.
Yep. And moving on to that, after that, we also have we have our truck module, and we also have our firefighter survival and our RIT Mayday module. We used to call it Squad Week, but we've that name kind of got misconstrued a little bit. But basically, that's doing traditional search, and the way we kind of split those up is the truck side is kind of looking for civilians in civilian clothes for the most part. So doing your VES, doing your traditional search and all that other stuff on the inside, ventilation, roof work, truck work.
We get forcible entry, we get
forcible
through the lock
entry,
stuff.
yeah,
I mean,
tons of
you
that.
literally, when we say you're getting a fire conference,
Yeah.
you're getting, if you want to go take through the lock, guess what? You're getting that in this class. You want to go take VES, you're getting that in the class. You want to take saws, you're getting that in the class.
Yeah.
You want to take nozzle forward, you're getting that basically in our recruit class.
Man, I want to go back through it now.
I know, right?
You're getting it from people that are teaching at Orlando Fire Conference and FDIC, and it's just incredible. So
On the firefighter survival, RIT Mayday, that module, that's an entire week. because that's for us, right?
Yep.
So that's like you're going in to save people that are in bunker gear. So there's going to be different ways of dragging, different ways of identifying and locating them, assessing them, and getting them out. And then they're again doffing their bunker gear and treating them as a patient, right? So, and that's where that EMS comes back in again at the same time. And then after that, then we kind of go into some of the other stuff that we have to get through, not necessarily module based over the course of a week, but there's like little onesies, twosies days, right?
Yeah,
So
you got
like
marine
you got
rescue.
like marine rescue, you got EVDT training, driving, all of that stuff, mental health. So that's a big thing in the fire service and throughout the public service community, fire, military, police, all that stuff. So we dive into that. So we dive into the resources that are available, and that we, like I said earlier, like you have to be mentally ready to come in as well as physically. And we're going to kind of touch on that and spend an entire day, if not more, on that.
Yeah, that's a good program to kind of sit in and learn about.
Yep. And then usually that final week, that kind of jumps us into week 8. Week 8, everything's starting to wind down, so we got a lot of cleanup to do because we've broken or dirtied up a lot of stuff. So we'll use you as a couple day laborers, but we'll be out there with you too, doing it. But basically, you're also going to have an assessment. So you have PAT number 2, right? So this will be your 3rd time doing it, but the second
big
time in full gear, which is amazing. We're all out there again, and to see the times that we've done this and to see the improvement is really like. It's like turning the heat up on a frog over time. You're not seeing the progress you're making, but 8 weeks later, you're like, oh, well, the first time I did the PAT was 12 minutes, and the second time I did it was 7.
So I got a question. You just said turning the heat up on a frog. I need to know a little bit more detail on that one.
Yeah, you throw a frog in a pot of water and like
Do that offline.
Like, wait, what?
Right? So
Sorry.
All right. So you're the one telling me to wrap this
I know,
up.
sorry.
So you're going sideline on me on this one. So then that final week also, we throw you through a fire assessment. So it's not your old checklist,
You're
can
wrapping
you throw a
everything
ladder?
together. Yeah.
Wrapping it all together from basically like setting up your gear like it would be at the station, doing a gear drill, showing up on a scene, getting direction, and just rolling through it all the way through. Typically, it's about a 15-minute process, and it'll beat your butt down, but it wraps it all together.
Yeah, and it's
on
a
the
final
EMS side, the same thing too.
Yeah, we
They're
give
hitting
it
you with scenarios, and
EMS
skills.
side, and then also like to us, it's a final check off. Like you, and this is something like we talked about, expectations and standards. If you don't pass this, you don't pass it. Like that's the standard. Like, sorry you went through 8 weeks, but you didn't pass our assessment at the end that you should have learned over the last 8 weeks, and that's holding people to the standard. And we're not going to release you to the field until we're ready to release you to the field.
Yeah.
And it's not just safety for you, but it's safety for the guys on the rigs, it's safety for us,
The citizens that
the
are
citizens,
assessing, like performance,
all that stuff.
So, and then wrapping up a few other logistical issues and administrative issues throughout that week, and then Friday. Like typically Friday's that last day.
Friday's the day.
Yeah, graduation day. So you're not going to know where you're going or your station assignment until you walk across the stage. So don't ask us.
Friday's their day. Isn't it?
Friday is their
It's
day.
all about them.
Yeah. So we start out. We do a run, a 2-mile run, formation run through the county complex. So we're excited about you. We're proud of you. We want to show you off to Road and Bridge and to Public Works and to tax collector's office and all that other stuff. So we're going to run through their backyards and their houses. It's a good way to show. We got American flags. We got department flags. It's really good. Do some cadence through that. And then after that, we have a little special thing that we typically do out at the fire grounds, just for the cadre and the class. Then cleanup, preparation, rehearsal, and right to graduation.
Yeah.
And it's a good day.
It's a good. That pretty much. Quick summary. Obviously, we're gonna dive deeper into these 8 weeks as different episodes come out. We'll dive into each individual week, but I think that was a good kind of overview. One thing I don't know, it keeps popping in my brain that I kind of want to close with is, we talked about gear and trashing gear and all this stuff. And, if you want to know about our program and what we've done, we literally give you 2 sets of bunker gear. One is for you to ride in and do live burns in, and that's it. The other set of bunker gear is because we trash it. And what I mean, we trash it, we're not out there just like throwing it around and whatever. We are searching on our hands and knees. We are pulling hose lines, and it gets destroyed. And that's that's a testament to show you what we're doing over 8 weeks is, we have expired gear that you're in. And it might not be the best shape, but it shows you that we're not messing around. We're physical, we're active, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, that last week, guess what? You get a brand new set of bunker gear to take home, and then that's your new set of bunker gear to take to the street. And, that's huge. You get that, it's like Christmas again. You get a brand new set of gear that you have to earn for that 8 weeks.
Yeah. And speaking of logistics, like, I know that's a whole other episode, but,
Right.
but,
We can talk for days on logistics, but
like the process starts at least 6 months out. And then logistics is mind boggling. The amount of stuff that you get that the department is providing you with, and how that goes is just amazing. But that's one of the first things on day one when you go to logistics and you get all your stuff. It's team building. Everything we do there's a reason behind it. It's not we don't do certain things just because we want to see you suffer, or we want to see you sweat, or anything like that. Everything has a reason, and you'll see that.
Yeah, and I think that kind of wraps it up. We got like a minute left. So kind of last 5-second, 10-second quote.
So
what do you want to sell?
I think, we talked about it before. Like, what are we looking for? We talked about heart, attitude, mentally and physically locked in. One thing I failed to mention there, and Dan, you and I talk about this a lot, is like we're looking for good humans.
Good humans.
Like, we want a high level of integrity. Like, the fire service is one of the most trusted professions on the planet. And so when we talk about that level of trust, we're talking about integrity, and we're talking about, this uniform has been,
Passed down to you.
Passed down. It's like you said, it's a trust.
Honor those that have come before you.
Yeah,
that have earned that trust.
And the citizens of the county, and not just our county. This goes anywhere. This isn't just St. Johns County Fire Rescue. This is everywhere. It's a trusted, very trusted profession, and good humans make that.
Yeah, and so when you show up, the expectation is that you're going to treat each other with respect, your fellow recruits, and everyone that you come across, uniform or non-uniform. So this is not a dating game. Like, we're watching every move when you get here, and so this job is about trust.
Yeah. I don't think I could really add much more to that. That's right where my brain is too, and it's good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that wraps up episode 9, and we'll dig down into it a little bit more.